This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Hey everyone, it's been over 2 years since we last hung out through a podcast, through a blog, through a video. Life kind of took me on an unexpected journey, and this rather unplanned break turned out to be a crucial period of rest, rejuvenation, and growth. Today I'm eager to share the journey of what happened in this time, my plans for the future, and the exciting changes I'm making. About 2 years ago, life threw me a curveball, leading to my abrupt disappearance from the podcasting scene. My initial plans were rather ambitious. I wanted to dive into video content creation with my video cast and of course, continue my audio at the same time and probably make a blog, add to that. And this turned out to be a lot more than I could chew. It left me wrestling with burnout, grappling with a severe case of writer's block. And unfortunately, my content was starting to slip in quality. And adding to all this, the COVID restrictions suddenly got lifted, which was great for my balloon business because all of a sudden events were in full swing. All these businesses were eager to use their unused budgets for events, and my schedule got flooded with more events than I could ever do before. Plus, I started taking on some freelance construction work on top of that. Now, balancing these out, these professional things out, my business, my freelance workout, with trying to raise my kids. I've got 2 kids under 12, 2 boys, are very energetic, and take care of my wife. It did not leave me a lot of time to create the quality content that I've always been trying for. Then, of course, there's a financial aspect. While this podcast has been amazing, and it was great, and I was able to do it steadily for a couple of years, I really struggled to figure out how to effectively monetize it. And because I needed to take care of my family and worry about getting some income in for my family, with a podcast that was not bringing in very much income at all, not enough to cover the cost of it really, I had to kind of back that off and change my focus here. So my family really took the precedence, and I had to completely cut this off so I could focus on getting more work and focus on feeding my family. Now, why did I make the decision to make a comeback? Well, I was already contemplating it, and it wasn't a solitary one. As I was thinking about it already and thinking about, okay, I really want to get back into doing this. I think I can do it better this time. I think I can perhaps correctly monetize it so that I can support my family, or at least, bring a little bit extra in. I was thinking about this when my good friend Jason St. Clair, the brain behind the Aethos podcast, the Aethos website, he played a great pivotal role. He recognized that I had talent for doing this, for writing, for producing content. And he thought I was, underutilizing this talent, and he was nudging me and pushing me. And he finally became the catalyst for me to finally get right back into this content creation now. And also, my time away became an opportunity to listen to other podcasts. And I realized I was subconsciously studying the strategies of the successful creators I listen to all the time. And I have to give a shout out here to the Lord of the Rings Lordcast podcast by Robots. if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like fantasy, I absolutely have to shout him out and say, hey, go give him a listen. If you like it, he's amazing. But not just that, but his podcast directly inspired me coming back. Listening to his podcast, listening to his format, listening to how he integrated, how he did, how he laid out his podcast really inspired me. I'm going to be using some of what I learned from that because I was making some notes in the back of my head that's how you do successful podcast. That's how you monetize it. That's how you can live off it and provide for your family. So a shout out. He has no clue, but shout out to the Lord of the Rings Lorecast podcast. It's great by robots. Go check that out. That's completely just tossing that in there. But because of that, I'm going to try to do some of this stuff that will help be more successful here. Now, while I don't really think that I'm going to be able to completely support my family just through the content creation, the podcast, the blog, but if I can get it to earn a little bit extra, even a little bit more, that would really justify the effort here for me to doing this. And beyond any financial considerations, I really, really do love creating content. Whether it's writing or maybe I'm contemplating mixing things up and making putting together things and maybe putting together all my podcasts together or my blogs together and write a book. That'd be great. But I just really, really do have a heart of a teacher. I love helping people. I love teaching people. I love getting into conversations and friendly debates to get different perspectives. And these fuel my passion. So really, I do really like doing this. I just have to make sure it makes enough money that my wife doesn't feel like I'm doing this and ignoring our family and not getting anything back. It's really kind of a big issue to take care of my family. Now, we're going to look in the future. I'm going to be trying to deliver at least one podcast episode every week, and it will be scheduled to go bright and early Monday mornings, so you have something nice and fun to listen to on the way to work. Now, with this, I might do an extra podcast. If we get enough people joining on our community here, I'm going to try to maybe do some live streams and all sorts of cool stuff I've got working in the works. Now, because of this commitment to the new content, I'm not going to be posting a lot of the old stuff anymore. Matter of fact, Jason's been going in and reposting content to try to get this podcast going again for me. So I'm going to try not to have to do that by producing more and more content because I'm back. We're back. So I'm going to try to do one podcast and one new blog a week, and more on that coming up. Now, this journey is really been all about fresh perspectives and keeping the content train rolling. And I'm going to try to occasionally go back down memory lane to kind of pull some of the old stuff I looked at and revisit things. And I'm really excited about this. And so we're going to now take a break. This is kind of clunky. I'm still going to be working on things. It's going to be a little clunky as I go. But right now, we're going to now take a break. And I'll be right back. And here comes the mid-section break right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first middle of the podcast break. Right here, this breaking section now. Going forward, it's a little bit rough the way I'm transitioning. I'll figure this out as we go along. I'm an entrepreneur after all. I jump off a cliff and try to build a plane on the way down. So, this break will be where I shout out my new Patreon patrons, my entrepreneur level patrons, and as well read out every week all the 5-star reviews that come in on Apple Podcasts. So I will also be doing any sponsorship spots, any ad reads will be here, as well as any news or information going forward about a break or a pause or a live stream or a video I post or an interview I do. all that's going to come back in right here on the break here. Anyway, with all that, this break's going to be shorter this time. We're going to go ahead and get right back into the podcast. Okay, guys, I'm back, and this is part 2 of the podcast. It's titled, The Future Unveiled, New Horizons and Exciting Changes. That doesn't sound quite right like me. That's okay. I did use a little bit of the AI help to write that title. I'll be back to that. So, first of all, one of the first things I'm going to be doing is I really, really want to bring in a lot more guests for interview. As many as I can get a hold of. I'd rather this almost become an interview show, not just me rambling on. You see, because I'm not a supervillain, and if I was a supervillain, you never want to get caught monologuing because that's how you lose. You don't want to monologue. And I don't want to be monologuing all the time. Now, here's the cool thing. One of the pulls, I guess you might call it, of the places I might want to pull my interviewees is you, my dear listeners. I want you guys to be part of this podcast. I'm trying to create a bigger community and more of an interaction, and I'm going to set up some opportunities for certain people to become a guest on this podcast. Now, speaking of that, and the community, I have now set up a private Discord server. I've updated my social media pages. I've created a X account. Perhaps a Rumble account will join my current YouTube channel. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of video content. It is on the horizon, and ever so often I'll throw something up there. Primarily interviews. I'm going to leave it for interviews and live streams, and if it's feasible. And if it's feasible, I might try to automate some of the audio uploads over, but only if I can get it automated or whatever. Now, with this community, I really, really am excited about that. I really do want to make a community of bootstrappers that build each other up and really work on creating something special and really creating a powerful force to help in the local economy and help build things up. Now, speaking of the automation, though, yes, I will be incorporating AI into my process. I am now using the AI, ChatGPT, to be precise at the moment, and a few AI image creators and stuff, just to kind of help with the content. More so on the blog post than the podcast. What I am doing is I'm writing the blog post and or the podcast. I'm writing it out by hand. Then I take my rough draft and I run it through the AI to check for grammar and spelling and flow, and maybe ask it for suggestions for titles, for headers, just little details like that, just to kind of clean it up and make it a little bit more professional, a little bit more understandable, and to kind of remove some of my very, very common ramblings or repeating myself, which I tend to do. So it does catch things. And some people will kind of freak out. Oh no, he's going to be using AI. It's not going to be just him. It's not going to be real. Oh no, I get that. I didn't want to do it personally. Until I started playing around with it a little bit. So, oh wait, I don't have to use this to create my content. I can just use this to clean it up. Great, cool. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a full post and podcast here in the near future about AI, about using it as a tool versus being lazy, all that good stuff. I am going to focus on that, and that should be very important. Matter of fact, my wife saw the AI was freaking out. She's like, why are you messing with AI, man? That's dangerous. I'm just using it as a grammar check, spell check, and clean it up a little bit. It's okay. So I'll get into that. But yeah, but don't worry. I write the things. Matter of fact, if you're worried about it, I will be trying to post my unedited rough drafts that I write in the Patreon. So if you join me on Patreon, you can go there, you can take a look, you can see my rough drafts and see how much I kind of work on it to clean it up and fix it. And you kind of get an idea of my process for creating stuff. Now, with the AI process, I'm going to go into this real quick. I am going to go back to some of the previous content I made, run it through and clean it up, and add to it and expand on things that I might understand better now. So I will be revisiting some of the older content because I think I could do it better now. I mean, it's been a few years. It's been 2 years since I recorded, and two and a half, almost 3 years I ran the podcast before. I've got a lot of content that I could do better, and that'll also help with any writer's block I have, because I want to be able to do things, condense things, all that good stuff. But if you caught that, I now also will have a Patreon page, a paywall. Now, I just want to talk about the monetization. This is very important. In order to be able to expand and make better content and more content, I am actively seeking out sponsors and going to be incorporating ad reads. Now, I am choosing the sponsors. I am choosing the ads I do. I'm not going to be doing things that have no relation to this. I'm not going to be doing the popular ad reads just because they are. For example, there's, Raid's Shadow Legends. It's almost a joke in the content creator community that everyone, they will sponsor anyone. I'm not going to be doing them. Even if they reach out to me, I'm not going to be doing them, because Raid Shadow Legends has nothing to do with business. Okay? So that's that. So I'm not going to be doing that, but I will be doing some ads here and there, things that relate to business, things that I find useful, that I see some way that will be a very important thing for business. Now, if you don't want ads, that's great. I've also now set up a paywall where you can listen for ad-free. Now, the main podcast, of course, will always be free. Now, but if you choose to support through Patreon to help keep these coming, you're going to get a lot of extra value. You're going to get access to the private Discord server, early podcast access to, like I said, the drafts. You'll be able to vote in polls, and this is where I'm going to be picking my guests from the podcast. If you're $25 a month or up, you want to be a guest, that's a good way. Now, you do not have to be a Patreon to be a guest on the podcast. We can talk. But my first go-to will be those on the Discord server, or not the Discord server, that are on the Discord server, that are on the Patreon, that do sign up. That's going to be where I'm going to try to draw people from, outside of reaching out to authors and speakers and other business people. So I really do want you people coming in to become a family. I really want this to go from me just talking to microphone every week to talking to microphone, but then having people that I can talk to, I can shout out, I can go in and chat with and help them build their business and say, hey, look, oh, you don't have a website, why not? And I just really want to help out. So go check out the Patreon, because that's going to be really cool. I'm adding a lot of stuff in there. You'll have to check it out. Now, another thing where I'm going to be doing is, if you sign up to the Patreon, I'm going to shout out all signups, first time signups every week, middle of the podcast break. I'm going to shout out everyone, say, hey, congratulations, so-and-so signed up this week. Thank you very much. I will thank you. And then for the Bootstrap entrepreneur level patrons, every single week, they will be shouted out every single week, no matter what. And also, if you go to Apple Podcast and you give me a 5-star review, I will read out that 5-star review the following podcast that I get a chance to. So if I get the review in, say, on a Sunday night and the podcast goes out Monday morning, it's probably not going to make it to that podcast. It'll make it on the following podcast. Because if I've already recorded it, it's not going to go on. It's going to go on on the very next one I record. So I'm going to definitely do that. So, thank you for joining me on this journey of rest, rejuvenation, revitalization. Now, the primary goal here is to provide meaningful content, content while evolving and adapting to better serve you, this fantastic audience I have, and it makes it all worthwhile. So stay tuned for more insights, interviews, discussions. In our next podcast, we'll talk about biting off more than you can chew, because that's what I did, and I choked. And I'll talk about going into the challenges and rewards of taking on ambitious endeavors, and then what I learned when I pushed my limits and kind of went poof. So anyway, I'm excited to explore this topic with you next week. And as always, your thoughts and experiences are invaluable. Please reach out. Please comment. Please reach out to the Discord. I do have a Facebook page. You can reach out and contact me. Now, this is Reboot. The title of this podcast is Reboot because it's the Bootstrap Podcast. We're rebooting, and we're going to tie those boots on. We're going to be back stronger than ever. And again, until next time, I am your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor. If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.